Welcome back to another episode of Lone Star College Football. Today, I'm getting on here to just do a little regular season recap for the Longhorns. I think the season, depending on which fan base, I know we're all Longhorn, but which fan tier you're on, I guess. There were some people going into the season where it was either definite Big 12 championship win or bust. And then there's the more realistic fans who probably would still be disappointed because I think more realistically, 9-3 is probably what we should have been. And then which is really kind of where I was. I was like 9-3, 8-4. I knew was a possibility, but I felt like 9-3 was pretty much where we should be. Before we hop into some of the statistics, y'all do us a favor, like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are at 89 subscribers now, so we are 11 away from 100. We really want to get there before the end of the end of the football season, and then we'll get into the off season and start hitting up recruiting and maybe some hype videos and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and jump right into this. Texas finishes the regular season 8-4. All things considered, our 4 losses are a combined total of 18 points. The biggest loss being to TCU by 7. Is that true? Yeah, I think TCU by 7 and Oklahoma State by 7 as well. But we lost to Alabama by 1, and we lost to Tech by 3 in overtime, which really is where I'm saying that we probably should have been 9-3. Losing to Tech, that's a bad loss. Losing to Oklahoma State at the time didn't seem like a bad loss. Now they've dropped like 3 straight games, so they're kind of making that loss bad. Yeah, we lost to them by 7, and then losing to TCU, I don't feel like that's a bad loss because of how they're playing. Now I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think TCU is as good as they seem. I think that they've had. I don't know. It's a hard thing to say because they've had some dogfights in the games and they've been able to come away with it. So they are good and they're deserving of that number 4 spot. I still think if they have to go head to head against a Georgia or an Ohio State, Michigan, I think they'll get thumped in the forehead. But that's we'll see how that goes. We still have technically Texas still has Big 12 champ hopes. If Kansas can beat the Wildcats, the K-State Wildcats tonight, Texas will have a rematch against TCU, and I like that. Bijan Robinson in his last 4 games against K-State had 209. TCU held us to 29, and then against Kansas he had 243, and then against Baylor he had 179. So, yeah, I'd like to see our offensive line and Bijan get one more crack at those Horned Frogs. Getting into the statistics just a bit. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm not really going to dive too much into it. And the reason for that is because we kind of got what we expected in a way, or what I expected from the quarterback position. I didn't expect Quinn to step in as a redshirt freshman and be amazing. That's not what I thought would happen. And I was right. He came in, he had a first-year starting quarterback, young guy. He should have been in high school last year. He had that kind of season. There was highs where he played really well in that first quarter against Alabama. There was highs where he just absolutely dominated the Sooners. And so there's highs, but then there's that Oklahoma State game. And it's like, dude, that was just – Coach Sark didn't give him no help. We should have ran the ball more in that game. TCU should have ran the ball more in that game, even though they were stopping it. You got to give Bijan the ball. Leads us into our running backs. Our running backs played really well. We expected that from that position. Bijan finishes the regular season with 258 rushing attempts for 1,580 yards, a 6.1 a pop, and 18 touchdowns. So he had a crazy year. Yeah, he did. He really did. I mean, and it's crazy because right behind him is Roschon Johnson, who only got 93 attempts, but he had 554 yards. I mean, if you triple that, you're looking at 9, 18, 27. You're looking at 285-ish attempts, and another 1650. So he's right. I mean, he's right on pace with Bijan. I don't think he. Man, I wish one of them would stay. One of them needs to stay. It'd be really good next year if they'd stay. But I don't blame them for leaving either. The receiver room, we had a pretty down year, all things considered, from Worthy. We have a video on that, so y'all go check that out. And I'll just touch on it briefly here, but it's more in depth on our other video. 53 receptions, 676 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He still got in the end zone a ton. Jordan Whittington had a good year, 45 receptions, 608 yards, but only 1 touchdown. And then Jatavion Sanders with 49 receptions, 577 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Bijan also playing in the receptions at 19 for 314 and 2 more touchdowns and through the air. But really, what I have to be most impressed with is our defense. Getting into that, we improved tremendously on defense from last year, which in a way is super impressive, but at the same time, we couldn't have gotten much worse. So it's almost like you have to improve some. We improved quite a bit. We went from 20 sacks last year to 27 this year. Tackle for losses from 72 to 87. Our yards per rush attempt on defense, so how many yards we gave up per rush, last year was 5.2. This year was 3.3. That's a big stat. If you're giving up 5.2 yards per rush, they don't have to throw the ball. They just run the ball every play. Technically, even at 3.3, they're going to get a first down every 3 rushes, or they'd get 9.9 yards. Rushing yards per game. Last year, we gave up 202.6. This year, we're at 123. Yards per play was at 6 last year. This year, it's 4.9. And then the yards per game last year was 426. This year is 362. So that is a 38, 58. That's that's a 64 yards less per game. That's a whole drive. That's taking a whole drive, a whole possession away from a team almost. Third down percentage. Last year, we gave up 42.35%. This year, we gave up 39.69. Honestly, it feels like we gave up 80% of third downs this year. It felt like we were terrible on third down, especially third and long. I felt more confident on 3rd and 4 than I did 3rd and 8. I don't know why. That's just how it played out. The people that really stood out for us, Jalen Ford played absolutely ridiculous this year, and he's a junior. So whether or not he comes back, I kind of doubt it because of the year he had. But the improvement from his sophomore to junior year, dude, if he can redo that from his junior to senior year, he could legit be a first-round NFL talent at the linebacker position. He had 109 total tackles, 57 of them were solo, 2 sacks, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. He won games for us. He got an interception in, I think he forced the fumble, or he at least recovered the fumble against Iowa State. He either forced or recovered the fumble against Kansas State, the last drive of the game. And this week against Baylor, while we're winning by 4 with like 6 minutes left in the game, he gets an interception to give us the ball back to go up by 11 with just 2.5 minutes left. So he's definitely won us games this year. I say that it is a team game and the defense as a whole won it, but him as an individual stood out on the field. If you're watching the game, you find number 41, and that's where the plays are being made. Jahdae Barron, dude, I feel like he had 2 interceptions and 1 sack, 67 total tackles, 2 passes defended. He also recovered a fumble, and I just feel like he was playing really good all year, and we should have him back for sure. He's a junior as well, but I think he'll be back. Ryan Watts as a transfer defensive back, he played really well this year. Barron Sorrell leads our team in sacks at 5.5. DeMario Overshown has 4. That's what's in 5.5 sacks is not a lot for a season. It's not game-breaking amounts of sacks, but when our leading guy last year only had 2.5. Five's pretty good. 5.5. What was it? It's either 5 or 5.5. It's 5.5. That's pretty good. We'll take that for sure. Um, all in all, our team improved quite a bit to go from 5-7 to 8-4. No, there's no part of me that looks at 8-4 and says that's a successful season in and of itself. But when you look at the jump from having a new head coach, a new coaching staff, going 5-7, the offseason going and getting 41% of a new roster. So we had like 37 incoming freshmen and transfer guys. So 41% of our roster is completely new from last year. And you take that with the 41% and go 8-4, that's a stepping stone. And now we just have to take that stepping stone and just lay another tile down or a stone down and take another step next year. And it's going to be hard, especially if Bijan and Roschon leave. Like, don't get me wrong, Kevin Brooks, he's super talented. Jonathan Brooks or Kevin Robinson, Jonathan Brooks, they're super talented. Jaden Blue behind them. We'll have the depth. Cedric Baxter's coming in. We'll have the running back depth, but there's more about Bijan and Roschon than just their talent. It's their leadership, the people that they are not in the locker room, on the field, in their community. And so that's going to be missed for sure. Roschon, it seems like, is for sure gone. Bijan is kind of up in the air. It kind of sounds like he says he's doing a lot of talking to his family, praying about it. He said that God has a plan for him, whether that's at another year at Texas, finishing his degree, or in the NFL. He's not entirely sure of yet. So we might have another year of Bijan. And, RG3 made a point at the end of the game last week. He said, offer him the NIL money, whatever it takes. If you got to drop 6 or 7 mil to have him come back, you better drop 6 or 7 mil. I mean, A&M's dropping 9 mil on a coach to go 4-8. So better find a way to drop 6 or 7 mil on the best running back in the country. But with all that being said, once again, if y'all did make it this far, I really do appreciate y'all. Like video and subscribe to the channel, and go check us out on TikTok. We're over 300 over there, trying to grow that as well. So appreciate y'all rocking with us. Hook 'em.